First intramuscular experience with 5-MeO DMT HCl. Set and setting: having reflected on intentions, done extensive research on dosage, and in a state of calm. Mantra on repeat: Ekankar Satgur Prasad, Satgur Prasad Ekankar. Dose: 1.5 mg intramuscular. From a solution with a concentration of 10 mg per milliliters, I drew up 1.5 cc in an insulin syringe to total in a 1.5 mg dose. While the rubbing alcohol dried on my leg, I said prayers of protection and focused on my intention to clear stagnant energy that had built up from the last sublingual 5-MeO DMT experience I had, as well as the energy that had accumulated from emotional therapeutic work with others. I breathed deeply until my body was at ease and no longer trembling. I then injected the solution into my left thigh. Because it was such a small amount of fluid, the injection went very quickly and with little discomfort. I rubbed the injection spot to ensure even dispersal of the medicine before laying down and focusing on my breathing. Over the course of the next 5 minutes, I had a timer going on my watch. I noticed a very gradual tryptamine tingle spreading over my entire body. It felt like one of the smoothest fades into something powerful I'd ever experienced. It reminded me a lot of the come-up for intramuscular ketamine, though not in the feeling of the drug but rather the smoothness of the come-up time. Right around the 5-minute mark, I felt a significant deepening of the experience. My heart began to beat harder, not faster. I was aware that my heart was dedicated to life, life, life. My heart is a warrior. I breathed deep into this feeling and I felt an expansiveness of my awareness. This awareness will go on, after the last breath, after the last heartbeat. I wondered if I had taken a true death dose. There were shadows of the fear I remembered from my first 4 experience lingering. I wondered how much more it would build. In that moment, I chose to accept whatever was going to happen and I focused instead on my intention. Because I didn't feel imminent death, I began to visualize waves of clearing energy sweeping down my body from my head and out to my toes. All my muscles were completely relaxed and my heart was also completely at ease. I breathed deeper into the experience, allowing every cell in my body to be filled with healing light that seemed to be pouring in through the top of my head. All this while feeling quite present. I did not feel extremely altered nor out of control. As I focused on the source of the white light, which was towards the back left part of my brain, I began to relive memories that I had forgotten. It was interesting how the memories came up because they were difficult to hold on to. I think a slightly higher dose would have allowed for a more full immersion if I had wanted, and they had a kind of synesthesia quality to them. It was as if they twisted out of this three-dimensional multisensory space into conscious awareness. The memories felt somewhat arbitrary at the time, so I focused back on paying attention to my breathing and on the present moment. In the present moment was perfection. I could feel a sense of this is how it is all the time. This is the peace that is always living inside you. See how long you can maintain it. Then I felt I had reached a plateau or that I had even come down. Perhaps the experience was over. I looked at my watch and it read 15 minutes. It felt like much more time had passed. My intuition told me that there was still more to the experience even though it wasn't intense. There was still work being done. So I laid back and worked with the medicine, breathing deeply into the feeling of peace that enveloped my whole body, clearing out any lasting tensions or energetic blockages. I drifted off into a visionary dream state, where I was both lucid and observer. In this state, I felt like I could tune into other people's lives and experiences that were either happening at that moment, had happened in the past, or would happen in the future. There was also a sexual aspect to this stage of the experience. I continued to breathe and work to stay present in the space even though I had to deal with distractions. This went on at a plateaued state of intensity until seemingly out of nowhere I heard/felt a voice, "Let me show you what else." I looked at my watch. It had been 42 minutes since the injection. I felt what I would describe as a second wave or second come up. This was reminiscent of my experience with intramuscular DPT, which had many of these secondary and tertiary come-ups. This second wave covered my head with small intermingling bolts of electricity that tingled as they passed over, concentrating finally in the top of my skull. The voice echoed in my head, "What else?" I thought about how I had been wise to wait and stay with the experience. During this second wave, which lasted almost exactly 20 more minutes, the action of the plateau was extended and slightly intensified before mellowing down to a blissful, relaxed, and meditative state of mind where everyday concerns were able to be observed from a distance and new attitudes towards the everyday concerns and challenges could be imagined. This reframing phase seemed quite useful. My overall impression of the action of 5-MeO DMT is that it begins with a bang and the rest is a drift slowly back down from there. It is similar to being propelled to a great height and then suddenly the apparatus that is carrying you to that height is gone. ensuing moment of terror or panic, and once the individual lets go to the realization of death as illusion, then the parachute opens and the individual is drifted down with capacity for viewing and processing from a higher plane of observation. I would also feel safe to process difficult emotional content as well in this stage. After a period of integration from this experience, I would consider using a slightly higher dose of 3 mg intramuscularly to see if that produces a significantly deeper experience or if it would still be categorized in the light range. My reflection on this route of administration in comparison to the IV route is that it is much smoother on the onset and conclusion, so there is no shocking jolt as one is catapulted to ego death. In some instances, that could be desirable since dying quickly could be easier than dying slowly. That is to say that the deathbed feeling is prolonged before reaching the peak in the intramuscular experience. I think that 5 mg will perhaps constitute a complete psychedelic experience with full ego dissolution, but it may require as much as 10 mg to reach such a point. More research is needed in order to map out all dosage levels for this medicine.